So one of the things that's pretty amazing to us, having spent, well, me nearly 40 years in Maine and my wife being born up in on Cape Cod and living in the north all our life, is that it's February. Yeah, it's early February and the weather's great. I'm walking around in my shorts and my tank top, and you know, people up in Maine are putting up videos of them digging out of the snow and getting the road cleared and trying to find their cars under the snow pile, and we're holding back on putting up any videos of us down here in this beautiful weather because we don't want to make them feel bad. I remember there was a year when I was in Maine, this was kind of early on, we'd had 19 snowstorms, and I had a little bitty yard with a fence. So I really didn't have any place to put the snow. I didn't have a snow plow. I didn't have you know, one of those snow, what do you call those machines that automatically clear the snow, like a snow, I don't know the name for them, you know, the gas powered thing, you crank it up and drive it and it blows snow out. Snow blower. I didn't have one of them. 19 snowstorms in a row. And this friend of mine from high school sent me a picture of her swimming pool, and she was complaining because her pool was dirty or something. The filter was giving her a problem on her pool. I remember it made me mad. I was like, I'm up here digging snow for my life. Cars buried in the yard. I can't get out my door. I'm shoveling snow. It's awful. And you're talking about your swimming pool, your freaking swimming pool. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I'm not doing that. I'm just down here working on my paddleboard. I got this paddleboard, and I got it for $50 from a secondhand store, and it was pretty rough, and I patched a bunch of holes, but then we wanted to use it, so I took it down to the water, and we did use it, and then I let a friend borrow it and stayed over at their house. And it's been outdoors, and now I got it back, and it's rough, and I'm thinking, well, this is a good time to sand off a lot of this stuff. See, here's some old finish. I don't know if this is part of the finish I put on this, because I seem to remember I may have coated this thing with some, that stuff I got. I got some kind of stuff that's called Glove It. Yeah, I think it's Glove It. So I don't know if this is my Glove It that came off, or if I even put any on there. This looks like fiberglass, got some fiberglass in it, so it may be fiberglass. But there's a hole here. Something fell on it, and there's a little crack there, and this is pretty nasty. There's supposed to be something you can stick down in that and lock something into place so you can hook a rope to it. But I'm just going to go over it. There's fiberglass places where I fixed holes before. So I'm going to sand on it for a while, and then I've still got some leftover boat repair stuff from when I did that Boston Whaler. So I'm going to wind up resurfacing this, repainting it, and it'll be kind of fun, something fun to work on. So that's what I'm out here doing today. A lot of this old fiberglass I can probably scrape off with a scraper blade. I think I've got a couple of them here. Put something like this and just get right up under that old fiberglass and scrape it right up off of that. Well, I found some interesting spots back here where the wood underneath the fiberglass. Yeah. That's interesting. It can't be good for it. And there is wood on this board. You know, you look at this and you think, well, what, does it have much wood in it, or is it all just a fiberglass laminate? But that's real wood, and it's real wet wood. That needs a good drying out, and I don't know how you would keep this. Well, if there's any place where there's going to be a hole, water's going to get in it. Of course, water that gets in there is not going to be good for it. Not going to do good for it. This might take me a while, but that does sand. Like when you sand it, it feels dry now, so apparently there's water under there, but it's not what I would call water soaked. That spot right there feels like it could be a little water soaked. But the idea that I can get under that and get to it is good. Might mean that there's just spots instead of the whole thing. You know, it's not heavy. Like if it was completely water soaked, it would be heavy, but it's not. It's very. Some places like that is a place where you could get water up under there, and that really. So the other day I was back here, you know, kind of scraping off some of the finish on this, and I noticed that this was wet. Well, it's not wet anymore. It's been sitting like this and it's dry. But up here, you see how, if you get the right angle, see how bubbly this looks? Well, if you can see here, I want you to notice when I do that. You see that? You see that changing color? That's water underneath this layer of finish. And here's a piece where a piece of it just flew off. Right there. So what this thing has on it is it has, it's wood, pretty nice looking wood, with a layer of this fiberglass stuff on it. And I need to get this off of it because it's got water under it, which can't be good for it. Now, the other day I was just using one of these. And see, I could take one of these right here where this piece of finish is broke. I can get started up under that. See if there's a place where I can start to get this off of here. That's going to be better for it than having that on there with a bunch of wet stuff under it. Might need to try to get a little bit of a knife blade or something under there. Now look at this. See how wet that is? Yeah, that's got to come off. What I'll probably do is once I get this off of here and it dries out good, is go back around underneath it and I may just put a regular coat of that fiberglass. This stuff here, it's not beautiful, but once it goes on there, it's not like that, which, you know, creates a place where water can get under that. And I plan to paint this with some of that Boston Whaler paint. Now I want to keep this here because of the surface. This is a rubberized, non-sticky. No, I didn't say that right. It's a rubberized surface that's easy to get some traction on if you're standing on it and it's wet. But it also doesn't get hot. Like if you were standing on that smooth surface in the hot sun, you could burn your feet on it. So what I'll probably do is take some of this kind of fiberglass gel and do all the places over, smooth them down, and then paint them with that Boston Whaler paint. And then I might use I've got some various rubberized paint stuff that I could possibly touch this up with. See, even this has the stuff coming up on it, but I might could use some of that. I'm trying to think, there's a name for that rubberized paint that they put on these things. Use some of that, I think. Now some of this is coming up and it's not wet underneath. Let me give you for example here. See, this has a surface coming up, but it's not wet underneath. In fact, that may be a little surface on top of something. There's no need to dig this stuff up as long as the big deal that I have to worry about is water getting under it. And I'm not even sure how far the water goes over this way. Doesn't seem like there's water up under that. think I might want to pull this out and let it sit out in the sunlight, that part there that's wet. I can do that by moving the whole boat forward and get the sunlight shining right on that spot right there. Yeah, that'll be a good thing. Ooh, the joy. Okay, been messing around with this board a little bit, and I guess tell you what I learned. I had last year put this rough looking fiberglassy stuff right here on it, which worked pretty good. That's very strong. It held everything in place pretty well. There was a few places where it looked like it had some air bubbles in it, and the air bubbles, when I sanded it, kind of opened up. But what I found is up here, I've got a lot of finish on this boat. In fact, I wish I put a little bit more right there, because you can see where that's cracked. And what happens is this old finish cracks and lets go. Under the old finish is wood, and under the wood is foam. And I literally got down to the foam over here, and I thought, wish I hadn't have done that, because you want to keep this thing sealed up. Just like on a Boston Whaler, a Boston Whaler is full of foam. Well, on this thing, if this foam gets soaked, then this thing turns out to weigh hundreds of pounds, and it becomes unusable. So you need to keep the inside dry. So I kind of changed direction. I started off thinking I'd smooth this down real pretty and smooth it up good and put a nice shiny smooth paint job on it. But then I wound up thinking, nope, not going to do that. Instead, I want to make sure I get it sealed really well. In fact, I can see already I'm going to put more on this after that settles in. But I want to get it sealed really well, and even if the surface is rough, and by rough I mean not finished but kind of like this with a light sanding, that'd be good enough, because you're going to be standing on this. And here's a place right here where this rubber stuff has gone away, and you can see the wood underneath that. So I'm going to wind up getting something like Flex Seal or something like that and repainting that part. Eventually, my plan has been that I would paint this kind of a Boston Whaler blue and white. Still kind of thinking on those terms, but the first thing I'm thinking on is getting this thing sealed up so that it doesn't get water leaking into it. So the best thing I can do now is walk away from it and let it get dry, and then come back and revisit it again a little later on and think some more about what's the next place to go from here. The point of all this is that we're going to be swimming at some point. By the way, I picked up another acetylene bottle the other day to replace the ones that got burnt. In fact, I picked up that whole torch set. I'll tell you more about that later. We've got a beautiful day today. It's supposed to get up to about 55. If you're from the south, it's considered cold, but if you're from Maine and have been living up there 40 years like I have, a 55-degree day is like a spring day, just lovely. So we have company. We have friends, actually a friend visiting from Maine here for a few days. So her and Honey Baby is having a lot of fun together. I thought I'd come out and work on this, and then I might do some banjo playing. In fact, since they're in the house, nice sunny spot right here, I might bring my chair out and play some banjo here. And I might sing a few songs out of the old Broadman hymnal too while I'm waiting for the fiberglass to dry. That would please me. It would please me to do that. So we'll see where we go with that. Anyway, with me, I've been reading your notes. A lot of you write to me, and sometimes the high point of my day is reading what you write. I am not loving anything that I'm seeing much on the internet now. There's a couple singers I like to hear sing, and sometimes I can find things that are kind of funny, but I don't want to say I'm bored with the internet, but there's an awful lot of stuff going on that's just way too serious for me to have to deal with. I mean, I'm old enough where whatever the world is going to do, it's going to do, and I don't have any say so, and it doesn't matter. I mean, even if I did, I'm not smart enough to know how things should go, so I'm kind of happy just to ignore all that, come out here in the garage, talk to y'all, do a little puttering around, and see what y'all got to say about it. So feel free, jump right in there, give me your opinion. Sometimes I take your advice, like 63 Impala. He's been telling me what kind of resolutions, and I thought a resolution was like over in France when they revolted and cut everybody's head off, but he says, no, in revolutions you got to have more than this many and less than that many, and he's learning me up. So I do learn from you guys. I'm really hard-headed, but sometimes I listen a little bit, and sometimes I take your advice, and heck fire, if I wasn't getting advice from you, I would just be leading myself astray, just going astray out here. All right, battery's running down, so I guess I'll stop talking. I will say this, I have a deer living in the yard off and on. I've got a new neighbor that's going to be moving in, and she has a pet deer, and her deer's been hanging around over here at my house, and it's kind of cool. It's really very cool to have a pet deer in the yard. I'm enjoying that. Thank y'all. I appreciate you very much, more than you know. Y'all have a great day. Let's see now. Which button? You'd think by now I'd know which button to push to turn this thing off, wouldn't you, after all these years? There it is right there. I believe it's this one. Click. Click.